ORMs are getting a lot of popularity lately because ORM means object relational mapping. That means that you can define your schema in your programming language and you do not need to deal with databases directly. Then these libraries can generate migrations for you and all of the database process will be done automatically without you doing anything. First, I used to think that Prisma and Drizzle is very similar, but there are some things I like about Drizzle a lot more than Prisma, and we are going to look that in this tutorial as well. So in this tutorial, we are going to build an Express.js server and we are going to see how Drizzle ORM works with it. For once we are not using Next.js, but you can follow similar steps to integrate it in Next.js. But in this video, we will be focusing on an Express.js server. So let's get started. We will first look at the documentation briefly. So if you want to jump directly into the code, please follow timestamps and get into the part of coding. So this is the main page for Drizzle ORM. It says TypeScript ORM that developers love, and the text keeps changing. Then it says we have got your back, lightweight and edge ready, top-notch performance, hassle-free SQL migrations, no code generation, zero dependencies, feature-rich SQL dialects. To be completely honest, I don't even know what this means. All right. Then there is also performance. You can check it if you want to, but we are not really focusing on that this time. And they also have a Drizzle Studio, which is very similar to Prisma Studio. I think it's pretty same. Like, I don't think there is any difference. And then we have the sponsors, pricing. I think, yeah, yeah, they do a memes little. They say that just kidding, Drizzle is free and open source. You can still make your contribution. And then, yeah, Drizzle, developers love Drizzle ORM, and they are just posting in tweets like, first is Dax, they say hi Drizzle. Theo says Prisma is amazing. Yeah, I don't know what to say. But yeah, I think I love Drizzle, like, for real. And Drizzle, if you are watching this video, I love you guys. Alright, then there is this documentation link which will take us to the more serious stuff. Now we are done with joking around and now we can see everything about Drizzle. So they have given a pretty good overview on why Drizzle ORM was made and how is it working. So I will recommend you to go check it out. I will leave the link in the description. I always do this before any tutorial, going through documentation, because I think it's very important to know why a certain technology should be used. So make sure you check it out. And yeah, this has all of the different things, and now we can start with the configuration. In this video, I will be using SQLite because you can simply create a database.db file inside your project and get started. But if you are using something like PostgreSQL, or I don't even know how to pronounce it, but if you have a server up and running, you can simply use PostgreSQL. The process is different a little bit, like generating the connections and stuff, because you need the specific package that allows you to connect to the database. But since we are using SQLite, we will go here and we will be using better SQLite 3, and we will be following these steps to move forward. And keep in mind that every single database has different kinds of schemas, so you can't apply one schema to another database. So if you are thinking that, hey, I'll start with SQLite right now and I will shift to Postgres, then you might need to start with Postgres right away, because there might be some things in the schema that are not supported by Postgres or are easy to do in Postgres but difficult to do in SQLite. So just decide one and go with it. Okay, so I'm going to create an Express server and I'm going to use TypeScript because I think that TypeScript is better and it's high time people should start learning TypeScript. And yeah, if you are looking for this video, I'm pretty sure you should be knowing bits and pieces about TypeScript. So let's go. So I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call it what should I call it? Drizzle demo. Let's go to Drizzle demo, and now we are going to do npm init to initialize a node project, and we need to install a few dependencies. So npm install developer dependencies, and we are going to install TypeScript. We are going to also install types for node, and yeah, let's do this for now. Let's do npx tsc init to generate a tsconfig.json file. All right. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I'm dumb sometimes. Yeah. Now let's open code dot. This should fire up a VS Code. VS Code is too slow right now. I'm trying out what's the name of that editor? Yeah, Z. I'm trying out Z right now. If you want the review of it in 7 days, just let me know in the comments below. I'm waiting for some time to make a valuable review. So yeah. So let's go into tsconfig.json first and let's search for our directory. And I want to uncomment this and make it dist, so that whenever this transpiles into JavaScript, it goes into a dist directory and not here itself. Now let's create a new index.ts file, and now we need to start installing the packages for Express. Let's go to terminal. Let's do npm install express course.env. I guess that's all we need just for a basic Express server, so let's hit enter. Perfect. But now we also need to install the types for it, so npm install t types express types course, and I believe for .env we don't need to do it, so yeah, let's wait for this. Perfect. Now what I want to do is throw VS Code into a different window. Yeah, I still have that monorepo window up, forget about that. Alright, so now we can start working with stuff. So first of all, the first thing I always do is import .env/config. This will auto load all the environment variables if you have them. So I'm not going to need environment variables. I'm assuming that some of you might be using Postgres, so that's why I'm leaving this here. So what happens is you get a connection string which you might want to put it into your environment variables. I don't need it because I'm creating a file. So if you're using it, this is good, but I just wanted to install it and show you that this is the way you should be loading environment variables, because most people are used to using Next.js and importing environment variables there is pretty easy. But in Express.js applications, I see many people stumble that, hey, my environment variables are not loading. That's because you need this package. Anyways, that was a long explanation for no reason. Okay, import express from express. Now let's do import course from course. Now we can start const app is equal to express, and then we can do app.use course. And since we also need to be able to get JSON from the client side, we are also going to do app.use, and we are going to say express.json. Perfect. So for context, the API we are building is going to be a to-do API. So you are going to be able to add to-dos and delete them. And once you get hand of it, you can already do edit and stuff. So yeah, now we can do app.listen. I want to use port 8080. You might want to have it dynamic based on your deployment service. So yeah, console.log. Copilot, will you help me today? It doesn't seem like it will. Server is running on 8080. Perfect. Now we need to configure a package.json because we are using TypeScript, so we also need to import some packages. Let me get the terminal there. Yeah, now let's do npm install tsnode and TypeScript. Not TypeScript, actually nodemon. I don't like to install nodemon globally, that's why I do this. If you are using nodemon globally, you might skip this step. So yeah, and now we can change this to dev, and we are going to say nodemon index.ts, and let's also make the scripts for start and build. So for start, we are going to use dist/index.js. You might notice that we don't have a dist folder. That's because it's generated on build. So yeah, this command will be run, and build will transpile all the TypeScript to JavaScript files inside a dist folder, and then we can run this command to start the production build. So yeah, for context, let's see how this works. So we can do npm build, and this should create a new dist folder which will have index.js, which is the entry point, and this will be the transpiled TypeScript which was transpiled into JavaScript. Yeah, okay, enough of talking about different stuff. Now we need to configure database. I will remove the dist folder, we don't need it. Later I would add it into gitignore, but let's go back to a browser and check the documentation for better SQLite 3. So we need these packages, so I'm just going to copy these. The first package, Drizzle ORM, better SQLite 3, and the development package, developer dependency is DrizzleKit. So let's install these. Just gonna paste this. Let's wait. Perfect. Now I'm going, oh yeah, those were two commands I forgot. All right, let's be quick. Yeah, npm dev. I hope it works. Yeah, address is in use and I am not sure why. So let's change this to 5050. Yeah, Perfect. Now let's start with the database things. First of all, let's create a new folder. I'm going to call it database, and here I'm going to create a new file called as connection.ts. And now let's look at the connection. How do we create a connection? So we are importing Drizzle from Drizzle ORM / beta SQLite 3 and database from beta SQLite 3, and that's how we are creating a link to our SQLite database, and then we are just wrapping it around the Drizzle function to drizzleify it, I guess. And yeah, we can simply return this db object, which is not in here, but I would like to have different things in different files. So yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to use import. First of all, let's import Drizzle from Drizzle ORM / beta SQLite 3. Perfect. And we also need import database from beta SQLite 3. Yeah, now it doesn't have types for this, so let's copy this and let's install types for this. Command J, let's pnpm install, let's paste this and let's wait. Pnpm install d types / yeah, you should not be careless, don't be like me. If you're installing types, don't just paste the name of the package like that. Have types, add @types prefix of that. So yeah, hit enter. Yep, perfect. Now this error should disappear soon. Yeah, thank you. Now we can say const client, or we can say const SQLite according to the docs, and we can say new database, and we can have the file name. So I think the file name here is, because we are in this file, we need to go back to the main, the root, and we need to have a file. So let's create a new file here. Let's create a database. So I'm going to call it database.db. Perfect. We don't need to edit it, and now we can link it here. Perfect. Now when we run our migrations, the database will automatically get populated, so you don't need to worry about just creating a blank file right here. And now we need to drizzleify it, so we're going to do export const db is equal to drizzle SQLite, not SQL, SQLite. Yeah, perfect. Now the connection is set. Now what you can do is you can go to index.ts and import this just like .env config. Import database connection. What will this do is whenever you are first starting your Node.js server, this file will be run and your database connection will be initiated instead of the first database call. So I think this is a better method. Now what about this is a ORM, right? So how do you create your own schemas here? We can have any folder with schemas in it, or you can have one single file with all those schemas in it. I like to separate them. So we are going to follow this method. So in database, I'm going to create a new folder called schemas. And here we are going to call todos.ts. And now let's go back to docs and see how is it created. Now we can go to manage schema overview, and we can look at SQLite. Perfect. And we need to import everything basically from Drizzle ORM / SQLite core. And the way you create a table is SQLite table and passing in the actual table name and passing in the properties. So yeah, let's do that. And remember to export this because we need to use these. So const to-do schema is equal to SQLite table. Yep, perfect. I would like to call this table as to-dos, and let's have properties in it. So the first is id, which is going to be integer, as from SQLite core, and I'm going to call it id, which will reflect in the database, and this should be a primary key. And I believe in SQLite it auto increments, so we don't need to provide an auto increment parameter here. Not that you can anyways, because in SQLite for whatever reason Drizzle doesn't have that auto increment thing, but for Postgres it does. So yeah. And the next thing we need is the task. We are going to say text. We are going to import it from SQLite core, and we're going to call it task. Perfect. Now we need to export it. Perfect. Now this is one schema. You can create multiple of those, and when your migrations are generated, Drizzle will go through all the files in the folder and generate all of the migrations. But how do you generate a migration? So yeah, we need to create a new file here. We need to call it drizzle.config.ts. I need help of my previous code here. So let's go here. So about this code, this code will not be run through your server. Instead, it will be run outside the scope of your server. So for example, you are doing pnpm dev right now. That server instance will not call this file. So you need to, when the migration is generated, this file will be called separately. So you need to again configure your environment variables. So let's do that. Import .env/config, and we also need one type. So import type config from drizzle kit. Yeah, now we can have type safe configuration, I guess. So export default, and we will export an object. The first is schemas. We need to first satisfies config. Now we can have it. Now we can say schema. So the schemas are in /database/schemas. Perfect. And now we need to pass in an output directory. So we are going to call it migrations. Perfect. And now we need to pass in a driver, which we are using. So driver will be better SQLite and DB credentials. And of course, if you're using Postgres, you can use this .env config to grab your environment variables and having the credentials. But here we are just going to have URL, which is going to be database.db. We're basically not even using .env at this point. I just have it so that you know. Anyways, now that is done, we need to also configure a new script in package.json file so that it's easy for us to generate migrations. So let's go here, and we are going to create a new script. I'm going to call it migration generate, because we're going to have two migration scripts, one for running the migration and one for generating it. So this will do, it will do drizzle kit, and we are going to say generate. And the driver here, we are using SQLite. If you are using MySQL, you should be using MySQL there. So yeah, this is the script. Now let's try generating the migration. By the way, sorry for my voice. I think I am going to have a slight cough. So yeah, now let's go ahead and run this command. So if you can't see, I think I should bring the bigger terminal, and I will create a new tab, and I'm going to say pnpm. What was the command again? It was migration generate. Yeah, thank you Fig or Code Whisperer. Let's wait for this. And yeah, your SQL migration file is, now the migrations will be inside your migrations folder, and this will be basically a SQL file which will tell your database how our schema changed over time. So yeah, but what if we try to generate this migration again without changing anything? It will say no schema changes, nothing to migrate. So unless you change something, it won't generate a migration, and that's pretty cool. And now let's go ahead and try running this migration. So to run a migration, there is no specific command like this. We need to create a script, and I love the flexibility of this because there's a lot of possibilities you can unlock. Even though our case is very basic here, but you can do a lot of different things while having the migration script. So let's create a new migration script. I'm going to create a new folder here called utils, and we are going to have a file called migrate.ts. I'm very sorry for my voice. And we are going to have this code. I'm just going to copy and paste at this point. Yeah, we again have .env config because this is going to be out of the scope of the server itself, and we are going to import migrate function from Drizzle ORM, better SQLite 3, and there is a migrator in there. So we are going to import this function, and we are also going to import our DB instance from our connection, and then we are going to just pass in the DB, and we are going to pass in the DB and the migrations folder to the migrate function. That way the migrations will run. Now you can simply go ahead and in your package.json you can go ahead and you can create a new script. Yeah, but instead of this you need to have ts node, and we are going to go inside the utils, migration.ts. Was it the same name? Nah, it was migrate.ts. Perfect. Now let's go to our terminal and try running this. So migration run. So after you run a migration, after you generate a migration, you must run a migration. So yeah, let's run this. What this does is it takes all of your staged migrations and it pushes it to the DB. So all of these SQL queries are executed. So how do we know that this is executed or not? We cannot open the database.db file because I'm pretty sure it's not going to work like that. Yeah, so we need to use the studio. So let's do that. So in package.json, we need to create another script here. I'm going to call it Drizzle Studio, and it's just like Prisma Studio. So yeah, Drizzle Kit Studio. Perfect. Let's run the command. Oh, all right. Something, yeah, I think I still have it running in my old project. That's why it's not running. Give me 1 second. I think it should run now. Yep. Now let's copy this and let's go inside the browser in a new tab and paste this. I hope it works. Oh, yeah, there is something wrong here. Let's see if we have set everything up correctly. Database.db is correct. I think it's not able to. I think even this is correct, right? Database.db. Let me try to see what's wrong. I'm going to try running the migrations again. So I'm just going to do this and try to run the migrations again. I think I still had the previous project open, so that might have something to do with it, but I'm not sure. Let me check. Let's reload. Yeah, it's still not working. All right. So after a long debugging, the problem was that this should not have been this, but instead it should have been database.db itself. So I think it's automatically picking up from the database.db. So what happening was that even though the migrations were failing because of the wrong file was pointed, it was still not throwing an error, and that's why it was having such a issue. So I think we have now fixed it, and now the migrations are running properly, and now the Drizzle Studio should work properly. So I do have it running. Perfect. Let's go back, reload, and now it's running. You have ID task, you can add a record. I can name the task as go for walk and save the change, and it will be reflected here. If we reload, it will be there. Perfect. Yeah, now we can go ahead and we can deal with the API, which is going to be very easy, and we are not going to focus a lot on how Express works, but I just wanted to show you that hey, it works. So let's go here and first let's create a route to get all the to-dos. So app.get /to-dos, and we are going to have an asynchronous function here. So request response. Perfect. Now we are going to have a try catch block, and here we are going to have a console.error, and then we are going to also have a rest.status 500, and then we are going to pass in JSON, and we are going to pass a message here saying internal server error. Perfect. And in the try block, we can simply get those things by doing const to-dos is equal to await db. We are going to import it from database/connection db.select. It's used for getting certain fields, actually getting some rows. So you can use the select to get some rows, and now we can use from to-do schema. And if you wanted to pass in where clause and stuff, you could do that. You can always check the documentation, but we are not going to go very complex. This is the command to get all the to-dos, and the code to get all the to-dos, and now we can simply pass in this to rest.json. Perfect. And now we can go ahead and create a route to create a new to-do. So I'm just going to copy paste and explain it this time. So in this one, we are going to get the task from the body. So we have used Express.json here so that we can pass JSON data from the body, and we have extracted a task out of it, and then we are using db.insert. We are passing in the schema, and we are passing in the values of the new row where the task will be task and ID will be automatically assigned. and we are just using .execute in the end so that we will execute the query right now. And then we are also getting all the to-dos using this method previously using select, and we are just passing it back. Same goes with delete. So we can have a similar syntax for delete. Instead there will be a delete function instead of insert or select. So here we have db.delete, where we need to import eq. So what eq means, that where to-do schema equal to id. So it's like you need to pass in which field must be equal to what. So for to-do schema, you could have to-do schema.task, or you could have to-do schema.id, but we are going to delete by id. So we're just going to have if to-do schema.id is equal to this will return true, and then the record will be deleted. That's how it works. And then we can also get all the records again, and we can just pass in as rest.json. So yeah, this is done. Let's try to run this server now. Hopefully it runs. Yeah, it's running. Localhost 5050. Let's go to Thunder client. Let's go to localhost 5050. Yep, except it's not data. And let's send. Error cannot. Yeah, it should be to-dos. Yeah, we still have the go for walk thing which we added from Drizzle Studio, and now we can change this to a post request and go to the body and have JSON content. So the content should be task, which is going to be go for a walk, then return home, I guess. Let's send. Now we have this here. Now we can delete by id. So we can change this to a delete request, and we can pass in an id which is going to be, let's not even go for a walk. So let's remove id 1, and this is not going to string, this is going to be a number. And let's send, and we only have one, which is id 2, return home. We can go back to a get request to check, and you will get only one. So yeah, that's the basic tutorial of Drizzle ORM. You can obviously go fancy and do all sorts of stuff. You can obviously check the documentation for that. So yeah, that's it for this video. I apologize again because my voice was not the best this time around. I think the cough is coming in, but yeah, anyways, if you found value in this video, make sure you click the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends so that they enjoy the same level of knowledge you're enjoying right now. And also thanks for all the love with the recent short I've just posted. It just blew up with like 1.3k in just one day, and it's just mind-blowing to me. So yeah, I will have the GitHub repository for this Express.js application in the description below, so go check it out. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.